Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mama 6, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Homestead Education. I am super excited today to have Rhonda Fowler on. She is a homesteader that has decided she wanted to create something more in this world. How are you doing, Rhonda?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself and your homestead?
Yeah. Currently, well, we have a large garden. I really am into food preservation techniques, do a lot of different kinds of canning and dehydrating, that sort of thing. So I just really enjoy doing that. We even make our own dog food and can it and stuff like that. So
I never thought to can the dog food. I just
yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's really not that hard. But at any rate, okay, so I'm also super excited about permaculture food forest. I grow a lot of perennial food crops. I've had chickens for eggs for some time, but recently my husband had a health issue and we got rid of those, but we're going to get them back soon. But so those are kind of the things I'm most interested in. I've tried growing microgreens a little bit and a little bit of like sprouting and things like that, but I haven't spent a lot of time on that. So, and just enjoy a lot of different things about homesteading in general. I just, even though it's a little more work to like grow your own tomato plants or whatever, it's just so satisfying to me. So I enjoy it a lot.
Oh, there's a song out there that says there's two things in life that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
Yeah, that's right. That is right.
So, you, in your homestead journey, you have actually decided recently to start something. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. I, for a long time, have just felt that, in Indiana, there haven't been large conferences, homesteading conferences close by. And I've always wanted to go to one.
As a West Coaster, I feel you. As a West Coaster, I feel you on that one.
Yeah. But more stuff actually really recently is sprouting up in a lot of places. But anyway, last year, I just kind of felt a sense of calling to start like a statewide conference that offers a lot of different things. And since I had a marketing background, I was a marketing director for years. And two, I have a social work background, but I just really care about people learning these kind of skills because I felt like we've lost a lot of these things. People haven't been teaching them to their kids and that sort of thing. Although I have felt that there's a very big growing interest in this topic. And I kind of felt like, I would see on a lot of the forums or like Facebook pages, people asking these questions that it takes so much more than, a couple sentences to explain. Yep. And I just felt like we just need not only statewide support or even hopefully reaching into other states, but we also need local support and developing community. So a part of my desire was to offer a lot more training to people that they could come and get in a short time. And I just felt a calling last year to start a conference, a homesteading conference in Indiana. And like I said, since I had a marketing background, I kind of knew the things that I could do to help build that. I always had a passion for encouraging the building of local community around homesteading because I really feel like people need support and you need more than just an online quick answer. I mean, for some things that's good, if you really do just have a basic question, but I started seeing so many of these questions like, I'm just getting started, where do I start? Or, I want a pressure can.
The ones that are quick to find online, where do you even go to find that information?
Right. And there are YouTube channels, there's Facebook pages online for support and so forth. But I just find that sometimes like topics like pressure canning, which, is a passion of mine. I've talked to so many people or seen them online say, I bought a pressure canner 2 years ago, but I've never used it. It's just sat there because I was afraid I was going to cause it to blow up or something, And so
I can tell you for sure that when you don't read the instructions right and you try to can chicken with not enough water, it didn't blow up, but the whole bottom was nice and round.
Oh no, yeah. Yeah, that can happen. That can happen. So, I had for a few years I've been teaching classes locally, just myself for my local community at the Lions Club. They let me use their space since I'm doing a community service. And so I'd been doing that for a while and people really enjoyed it. And I loved being able to help teach those skills. But I encouraging local community is a big part of the mission that I had in starting this. And there have been, there was already some local groups, but I know around here, there have been county-based groups that have sprung up. And, the night of the conference last year, somebody in my county started a local community homesteading Facebook group that has turned into, just in our small county, 145 people. Nice. And we meet quarterly and have trainings and things like that. And it's just really exciting.
I love how much people are trying to come together and build community within the homestead world. I mean, it's especially as homestead, I say moms, but it's really all of us or women. Yeah. We're so far, a lot of us live really rurally. So not only do we feel like we're taking on this whole new endeavor, we're doing it by ourselves. And it feels really good to have community.
It does. It does. So that's one exciting part of it. That's just very exciting to me.
Yeah. So how did last year's conference go?
It went really well. We didn't have much time to do it. A gal that I ran across online, I reached out to Ashley Burton, who is at Mulberry Branch Farms here in Indiana. I reached out to her because I just felt like maybe she would be a good fit. And we had never met, but started talking with her. And so she helps me with some of the projects. And then there's another gal, Melissa, that helps with the vendor hall, another gal that helps with volunteers. I got lost in there somewhere. I'm gonna forget what the original question was.
It was just, how did it go last year?
It went really well. People responded really well, and they were very thankful and excited to have, a place where they could learn so many different things all in one day. So it went really well. And this year's is going really well too. Just development. It's the conference this year is going to be October 21st and 22nd. At the Marion County Fairgrounds, which is east of Indianapolis, just outside the outer loop on the east side.
Nice. So yeah, that was going to be my next question is you have this year's coming up in October. Oh, tell us a little bit about who you have on the
roster.
The roster, the lineup, some of the talk.
We've got some of your listeners may be familiar with Joel Salatin.
I hope they are
very well known. Yeah, he's very well known in the homesteading world and has done a lot of speaking. He's coming. We're super excited. We're super excited about all of our speakers. But we also have Sean and Beth Doherty.
I got to meet them recently and they're just so sweet. Yeah.
Oh yes. And so knowledgeable. They've been around this world for a long time. They have so much to offer, a lot of insight. We also have Pork Rind. He has spoken at HOA, the Homesteaders of America, before and been around to some other conferences.
And for my listeners, go back and listen last week. I had him on the podcast and that was a blast.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. We also have Hunter Smith, who was played for the Colts for years. He was a punter, and he has become a homesteader. And it's super exciting to hear his story. And then,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So we have a lot of very experienced homesteaders from around the state also who are going to be teaching on many, many different skills. I mean, we're going to have classes on, raising rabbits, butchering rabbits, all the different food preservation methods. Joel's doing a workshop on, butchering chickens. The Dohertys are also, they're both going to be speaking both days for regular trainings, but they're both doing workshops. Like I mentioned, butchering chickens is one for Joel. And then the Dohertys are going to do an intensive workshop, which is an additional ticket. The workshops are outside of your standard ticket, just gives you all the classes. We have 5 breakouts per hour, both days throughout the day. But on top of that are the workshops. The Dohertys are doing one on how to start a homestead. Like they're going to help people come away with a plan. And one thing all of these folks are noticing, and I'm noticing too, I'm just hearing it everywhere, that there is such an increase in people wanting to start homesteads. And they're going to get down to the nitty gritty to like help people who really have tons of questions. So it's going to be really hands-on and an extended time period to work through things with people.
Oh, that sounds like an amazing one.
Yeah. We're going to be putting those out pretty soon. And
I have to say, Beth spoke at the Women's Homestead Convention in March. And I mean, what she had to say, I was there as a vendor and I busted out my notebook and was taking notes because I was so excited she was talking about how to have a self-sufficient homestead.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was fully intrigued.
Even growing your own fodder for your animals. And so they're very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
We're going to have some classes on urban homesteading, and raising in small spaces, because we really want to encourage people wherever you are. You don't have to own 20 acres of land in the country to homestead. As a matter of fact, some of your listeners might be interested, or many probably are already familiar with the DeVries family, that they were completely self-sufficient on 1/10 of an acre. They're actually from California. And there's a video out there that really explains, like they really hit it hard. They grew thousands of pounds of food every year, but they hit it hard one year just to see how many pounds of food that they could grow. And they grew 7,000 pounds of food on 1/10 of an acre. So I think people need to realize that you don't have to have some big plan, that the only way you can homestead is to have 20 acres and 5 kinds of animals. And, so I think that's an important message. I think that we really want to drive home to people is start where you are and you can grow a lot of food.
And what I always teach is don't feel overwhelmed by all of it. Pick either one thing in your life or one thing in each part of your life and work on that until it no longer feels like work. It feels like life.
Yeah. And I know, like everybody has, there are thousands of things that you can learn to do. And I think, choose 3 or 4, that you're super excited and passionate about, and let other people grow the other things. It's okay not to do everything. So,
well, I also heard a rumor that Kody Hanner is going to be there too.
Oh yes, Kody Hanner is going to be there. Absolutely.
No, I just had to laugh on that one. Yeah. No, I'm really excited. I had got invited to come last year and it was just, we were already on our way home from HOA and there was no way I could make it work. So I'm really excited that I get to be a part of it this year.
Yeah, I know. That'll be fun. There's a big crew. It's going to, we're going to have 2 full days. And like I said, we'll have breakouts, 5 breakouts per session to choose from. So, I think, almost everybody should be able to find something that they enjoy. In addition, we're going to have those intensive workshops, but we're also going to have demonstrations out on the property. The property is 120 something acres.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's all fenced and gated. And so we also have RV spots, 70 RV spots there. In addition, there's going to be primitive campsites available.
Oh, that makes it really handy. I know when we travel for these events, sometimes, yeah, we have our RV or something. Sometimes we have a hotel, but it is so hard to try to navigate all of that.
Yeah, yeah. And the fairgrounds themselves are the ones that are handling scheduling those. So if someone is interested, if they contact, they can find the contact information on our website, and they
Okay.
can contact, I have the form on there that they can fill out that they need to turn into the fairgrounds.
Okay. I'll make sure I link all of that to your website in the show notes so that everyone can find
Great.
you.
Okay, great.
Um, sorry, something in my throat. Yeah. We're actually, the weekend of the trip is of the conference is my twins' 15th birthday.
Oh,
And I was
are
like,
they
so
gonna, I
they're
hope
going to
they
be
have
with me.
fun.
Yeah, they get to travel a lot. So they're going to be with me. And I was like, so what do you guys think about a conference for your birthday? They're like, we love conferences. So
Great, good. And we're planning to have some fun things for the kids. I mean, your kids are older, but
I've got some
we
littles too. So
okay. Well, we're gonna have a petting zoo, and
mm,
we're gonna have someone doing face painting with farm animals and doing like little balloon animals. We also offer what we're calling junior homesteaders. So there's going to be just 2 1-hour classes a day for the junior homesteaders option. Those tickets are very limited. So there's the session, like I said, 2 separate sessions on Saturday, 2 separate sessions on Sunday. So, but the tickets are very limited. So just be aware. If someone's really interested in that, they probably need to get them right away because there aren't very many tickets left for that. But
all right. What do you have our classes picked yet?
yes, and let me see if I can remember because there's a lot of information bouncing around in my head. But I know there's one going to be on honeybees, and we're going to have an observation hive and
Oh
do some
man.
teaching on honeybees. We're going to have a class on vermicomposting, but worms and how they make compost for you with a worm bin, that they can interact with. And we're going to have one on growing different types of corn and talk about popcorn and that sort of thing. And then what is the fourth one? It was something fun and I can't think of it right now. But that age group is 5 to 12-year-olds.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a lot of fun. We were in the garden yesterday pulling worms, and it's such a blast. We had to actually do some digging in our garden to fix a couple of our our garden beds.
Mm-hmm.
And we were getting these worms that, like, my viewers can't see it, but they were a foot long and I mean is half an inch around. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've never seen them that big up here. I was so amazed.
Mm-hmm.
And we were pulling them out and putting them in another bed because we had to dig in that one and we didn't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
But my 5 and 3-year-old were having a blast because that was their job to catch all the worms and stick them in another bed and bury them.
Yeah. Oh, I just remembered the fourth one. It's dairy goats and making butter from cream.
Oh, that's always a fun one.
Yeah.
I might have to get my 5-year-old on the list. He's going to be excited for that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get him going because we're going to have our cows back in milk again for the first time in a year and a half this fall.
Oh,
So,
wow.
we
Yeah.
got to, get him on track already.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, seasons of life, we decided to go a year dry, and now they're bred again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
lots going on a homestead.
Yeah, well, launching a new business, I just couldn't stay on top of 3 dairy cows.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But we have a new one coming this year, and we got an opportunity to get a brown Swiss bull, so we're really excited.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Milking is a big commitment. I mean, we had a cow when I was a kid. I haven't had a cow myself. My brother and sister-in-law have cows. And they, anyway, it's just a lot of work to keep up
It is,
with. And
yeah.
you have to be consistent. You have to be there and milk. And so.
Yep. We definitely we try to have calve at a time that we actually have time to milk. So
Yeah.
the fall is a really good time for us because then we have all winter before I start on conference season again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm excited. I was just getting into some more advanced cheeses when we decided to stop milking the last cow. And I have all the equipment and nothing to play with.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up when we had our cow, making butter was just homemade butter tastes so much better than store-bought butter. I mean, you wouldn't think there'd be any difference, but there really is.
Oh, it's almost like you could almost just eat it with a spoon.
Yeah, it's so good.
I don't, but
Yeah, I know.
it just makes for an excuse to make homemade bread.
There you go. Yeah.
Because there's nothing better than homemade bread with butter from home melted on it.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
I watched this video yesterday for probably 20 minutes. I never know how to say it. The focaccia bread.
I was thinking it was focaccia, but I'm not for sure.
I don't know. I never listened to anything with the sound on.
Yeah.
So I'm just reading. And they always say when when a child pronounces a word wrong, no, be proud of them because that means that they learned it reading.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I just get to fall under that category still. But yeah, that bread where you get to like smash your fingers into it. And I'm like,
yeah,
man, that looks so good. I think I need to get back into some bread making once the garden goes, where I can put all those fresh vegetables into the bread. It looks like a meal in itself.
Oh yeah. There are those I've seen some where they actually do artwork on the bread where they put the edible flowers on the top and they do really pretty things on it. That's fun.
I'm not very artistic, but I am about the food. So
yeah.
I'm sure I will figure out some way to make that yummy.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of been out of the season of making bread, at least for myself. My daughter, she's mastered garden twists. Oh my goodness. Garlic twists. And she makes the dough and she braids it and puts the garlic on it. And so then, being 14, she's like, I'll cook dinner tonight so she can cook something that goes with her garlic twists.
Yeah. I'm excited about having you come. I think that homeschooling on the homestead is kind of a big topic these days. I mean, it's not only just homesteading in general that people are becoming more interested in, what Joel Salatin calls a homesteading tsunami.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel like
homestead learning revolution.
yeah. But I think there's a huge interest in homeschooling.
There really is. And there's also a large, and I've actually just kind of learned this recently. I was on Melissa K. Norris's podcast, and she was saying that she has felt a lot of backlash for not being a homesteader or a homeschooler.
Yeah.
And then I started having a lot of people, my printer decided to just do random stuff. I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, that they, even for those who don't homeschool, they want ways of teaching their kids over the summer how to do more of these homestead and hands-on activities. And just a lot of them are looking for the validation that it's okay that they aren't homeschooling.
Yeah, I think in some situations you don't have to. It depends on where you live and what's going on in your area and, your kids' personalities, lots of different things you have to take into consideration.
It's one of those things that you always know what's best for your family.
Yeah, absolutely. And depending on the season that you're in, in life and stuff. Yeah.
When we first started homeschooling, we were like anti-homeschoolers.
Yeah.
Like the thought of bringing our children home and not giving me like that free time to clean my house every day or to be able to grocery shop. And it just never even crossed my mind. And I'd always worked in corporate. So, there wasn't even an option to think about homeschooling.
Yeah.
And when my husband and I moved out of California and bought our first small farm, which we had both grown up rurally, and I grew up on a ranch and he was a big hunter and stuff, like just because we're from California, please don't judge.
Yeah.
But yeah, we grew up in Northern California where it's actually really rural. And we got our first small farm in Oregon, and we moved there so that I didn't have to work anymore because he's a disabled vet. So it gave us, we had an income and I could be home. And then it was like, well, what do we do with our days? And we wanted to go hunting and be out in the woods. And, there was a lot of factors that led up to us officially deciding to homeschool. And, some of it was, one of our teenagers got in some trouble. And another one is one of our kids had dyslexia and she was struggling. And then my husband got sick and we didn't know what his prognosis was going to be. And we wanted to be able to spend more time as a family. But at first, him and I were going out in the woods every day just because that's our happy place. And that's what made us feel good. And we didn't want to, we kept getting frustrated that we had to drive back to town to pick up the kids after school.
Yeah.
And that was actually one of our biggest, when we were weighing all the pros and cons of starting homeschooling, one of them was, if we're homeschooling, we don't have to drive back into town to get the kids. We can just stay in the woods because they'll already be with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was, the first 6 months, we spent more time hiking and out at the lakes and in the woods than we did almost doing anything else.
Yeah. I really think it's neat that you have something that helps kids learn and be connected to homesteading at a younger age so that they can be connected to it. And again, whether they're homeschooled or they're in school, but there's something to help them have activities that help you have some kind of structure to it so that you have, the kids involved in everything.
So they can feel like a part of it and they understand the why behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know as adults, we don't want to do anything unless we know why, or at least that we have a why that resonates with us. And, I actually have recently said, like, the difference between a chore and a responsibility is a chore is an obligation and a responsibility is a privilege.
Yeah.
And that's really what I try to teach in my books beyond the science. I mean, the science is the why, but understanding that privilege that, you are tasked with caring for this animal that's providing for you.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of kids really blossom from that.
Yeah.
My own included.
Yeah, that's exciting.
We've definitely had our challenges. We're a blended family. And when my husband and I met, we raised our kids very differently. And we had to figure out a way to make that work for both of us. And we saw, like I said, huge blossoming within our kids when they were able to have that responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, that's really cool. We hope to have, of course, you're going to be speaking at the conference. So we'll be talking about homeschooling there. And we've got the Indiana Association there of homeschoolers.
Oh, wonderful.
So people can ask questions, about like our state laws and things like that. And so there'll be resources there for people.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, it's so hard to find all that information. And I'm actually working on a little project myself, putting together some of that information because nobody knows where to look.
I know. And there's so much involved if you're trying to transition your family into a different way. So finding ways to help people make that transition a little easier and less overwhelming is nice. So
I agree. It's, like I said, like you're saying, so many people are transitioning to homesteading, and it can be a real culture shock when you're used to having everything provided to you. And, I had a gentleman this weekend ask me, what's the biggest adjustment you have to make as a homesteader? And I mean, I almost didn't even know how to put it into words, but basically it was like, sometimes your food is going to look a lot different. And sometimes how you get the things you need are going to look a lot different. And you kind of almost have to accept that, but not in a defeated way, in an embracing way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times our food looks really different than the way it did 10 years ago.
Yeah. Too, it's just a different way of thinking. We're not used to thinking seasonally. We're not used to thinking the way nature works necessarily. We just have a system where, our food is trucked in from thousands of miles away, and maybe not in California as much as here, but a lot
we're in Idaho now. So, I mean, we definitely have stuff shipped in.
Yeah. A lot of food comes from California and Florida, and some from actually other countries. It's shipped that far.
Mexico's a big one.
Yeah, but even, garlic comes from China. There's just a lot of things that come from very long distances, I guess is my
Mhm.
point. But, you know, I think that it's so much more natural to, and again, as much as you can, I don't want people to feel guilty that you can't 100% be a homesteader. I mean, I'm not. And but there are a lot of things we grow and we preserve for the year and that sort of thing. I think it teaches you different lessons when you're connected to God's ways and you're connected to the way nature works. We're so disconnected from that in our culture these days. I think people have a hunger though to move back toward living in harmony more with God's creation and the way, things work. So many people don't even know where, a sweet potato comes from or how to, plant seeds. You have to, go with the seasons and plant in the
Mhm.
spring so that you can have a harvest later. And I think it teaches us a lot of beautiful lessons when we are congruent with the way things are actually made, and we learn a lot from that.
I really, yeah. And even when we first started our journey of trying to go all natural and grow everything ourselves, we, that is, luckily this is recorded. My husband figured out a way to send an urgent message and it's dinging through to me.
Oh no.
He just wants to know what gate to buy, but I guess, I can probably just leave this right in the recording because this is part of homestead life.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. While you're doing that, I can just even talk more about that. I think that even though some of the younger people don't necessarily realize that it's homesteading, they may not know that word that they're looking for, but they're
Mhm.
wanting a more real, down to earth life. I think they've become disillusioned with all the plasticness of the kind of society that we have and all the fast paced, always on your phone, stuff like that,
Mhm.
that we've lived under for several years. And I think people are just hungry for returning to a different kind of life. And in addition, I think, well, even before
I think
COVID,
it's,
there was a big increase.
mhm.
But with COVID, I think a lot of people just kind of, their systems that they were running all the time too, this class, that class, gone all the time, eating through the drive-through, things like that. It kind of got, knocked off, all of the pace that they had before, and they had time to actually think for a minute, like, gosh, we're not rushing to all this stuff because stuff was closed down. Maybe we don't have to live that way.
Yeah. It was a connection that I don't even think we all knew we were missing
Yeah,
until we kind of had to re-embrace it. And,
absolutely.
just the reliance on systems that are way more fragile than we thought they were. And
Absolutely.
honestly, we realized that we don't need anymore.
Yeah, I really think so. I think people kind of were lulled into this thought that, there was always going to be a Starbucks on every corner and
Mhm.
somebody deliver stuff to my house that and it's like, I think just people recognize that that's not always true. Like we can't
Mhm.
like put our dependence on all of these complex systems. I mean, really, COVID wasn't near as big as some things could be. And look at how it disrupted everything.
Well, that wasn't COVID that disrupted us, but that's a whole nother
Yeah, that is a whole
conversation.
nother story. Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. Yeah.
But yeah, also just there was a fear involved with it too. And I even felt it
Mm-hmm.
myself. We were
Mm-hmm.
in the hospital in the NICU with our youngest when
Oh, wow.
COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they pretty much, he was having a little bit of trouble eating still, but he was off everything
Mm-hmm.
else.
Mm-hmm.
And they pretty much came in and said, he's doing good enough. Let's go ahead and pull these tubes out. Let's get you home. If you have any problems, call your doctor. And we're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, he's been in the NICU for 3 weeks and suddenly he's good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot
Uh,
of people didn't know. what to think about all of that. And it's unfortunate the way things evolved because I think it really became unhealthy the way that the systems dealt with it just in general. But yeah.
We definitely, like I said, the fear and like anxiety that came, not so much for us, but we still felt it.
Yeah.
We luckily were in a position where we went to town once a month and got the absolute necessities, and everything else was already in our house.
Yeah.
But a lot of people didn't have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in larger cities, I think, it was probably a lot harder there because,
Well, I heard a gal talk at the Women's Homestead Convention, Sophie Ng, and her and her husband were living in the Silicon Valley when this hit. She's like, it was scary. She's like, we were on lockdown, and she's like, my parents are first generation Americans where they lived in socialism, and were telling us this is what it was like for us. And she's like, they were scared. We were scared. She's like, we couldn't get food. And they actually moved to Tennessee and are completely self-sufficient right now.
Wow. That was a big, quick change for them.
Yeah. They were like, we're done. And out they went, and they actually educate other people on how to make that change.
Wow. That's
They are
cool.
really an inspirational couple. She actually, I guess I'm doing a little plug for her at this point, but she just came out with a book on cooking Asian food, all homegrown, like farm to table Asian food.
Neat.
And I was like, I need to get that because, I love me some Asian food, but
yeah.
It was just her story though, that was so enlightening, because even for myself, like I said, I grew up in Northern California, but I was so disconnected from even what my California friends and family were going through when I lived so rurally and in a community that never really did shut down.
Yeah. I'm from small town America, and of course, well, I mean, we live in the country too, but even like in the small towns, they just weren't near as harsh on some of the shutdowns and stuff, as some of the bigger cities for whatever reason. I don't know, but
yeah, like masks were never required where we live and stuff. And so we definitely got to keep those freedoms. And so we didn't feel it the same way, but it was still, we felt very isolated that life was still normal for us, and it wasn't for everyone else. And it made it really hard to know what to believe.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
So, well, as we're coming to the end of our time, my favorite thing to ask all my guests is, what does keep growing mean to you?
What does keep growing mean? Well, I guess ultimately, you keep learning every day. You keep learning new things. I see myself as a lifelong, learner and grower. And there's always so many fun skills to learn in the homesteading world. I mean, I probably have a list, like a huge list of things that would be super fun for me to learn. So I have an unending list of things that I'd like to expand into. So.
Oh, I love that. It makes me want to like go make my own list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talked, quite a bit about the conference that you're having, and that's going to be October 21st and 22nd in Indiana.
Yes.
We're going to tell you all how to go ahead and get your tickets to that. But if you tune in at the end of this episode, you can find out how to win a couple of tickets from me over. Well, I'll give you all the details after the call.
Yeah.
But if you want to go ahead and tell us where they can get their own tickets and a little bit more information about that, that'd be great. Yeah.
You can log into our website, which is just indianahomesteadingconference.com. And there's one of the pages is just on tickets, the different kind of tickets that we have available. You can get, a weekend ticket with the hog roast. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Saturday evening, we're having a big what we call the hog roast and hootenanny.
Oof, I'm excited.
So we have a band that's going to be there, and we're going to have a just a hog roast. So you're going to smell that hog roast all day out on the property, because the folks
My
that are
past
doing
gets me in there, right?
yes.
You can't let me smell hog all day. And
Yeah. Well, but for the people buying tickets, the hog roast and hootenanny is a separate ticket. You'll see it on there. So, you save a little bit by, doing a combined ticket. But, and of course, there's a different ticket for kids. Kids under 12 are free to the event, but not to the hog roast. You do need to buy a hog roast ticket for them if you want to do that.
okay, awesome.
But yeah, and it'll be, the hog roast, we're going to have a little inspirational talk and music, and sit around. I'm wanting to plan on having like some fire rings and stuff, but I have to talk to the fairgrounds to make sure that's okay. But I think we're going to be able to work that out. But
that's going to be such amazing fellowship and fun together.
Getting to know other homesteaders. That'll be fun.
Well, I am excited, and can't wait to see everybody there. And like I said, make sure you tune in at the end of the episode to hear how you can win some tickets.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Thanks you so much for coming on,
Kody.
Rhonda.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in on how to win tickets to the Indiana Homesteading Conference for 2023. The Indiana Homesteading Conference will be held October 21st and 22nd, 2023 at the Marion County Fairgrounds outside of Indianapolis, and is dedicated to partnering to teach sustainable living skills and encourage community. Kody Hanner with the Homestead Education has partnered with the Indiana Homestead Conference to give away 2 weekend passes. Passes include access to all the conference breakout sessions both days. This is 25 sessions per day with 5 time slots and 5 options to choose from each slot. You do not want to miss this amazing lineup of speakers. Just so you know, the hog roast, junior homesteaders, and the intensive workshops are not included, but can be purchased at an additional charge. But I bet you just want to hear how to win these tickets. And we are so excited to be giving them out. First thing you need to do is follow the Homestead Education on Facebook. The second one is follow the Indiana Homesteading Conference on Facebook. Then use the link in the show notes to sign up for the Homestead Education newsletter through that link. And on May 31st at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be drawing the winners live. Once we draw a winner, we're going to check to make sure that you're following both the Homestead Education and the Indiana Homestead Conference in order to qualify. If you don't, we will be pulling a new winner. So make sure you pop over to thehomesteadeducation.com/Indiana Homesteading to sign up to win those tickets. Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at Homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing!